All right, well, I'm Shawn Melke, and as God is my refuge. In 2013, I had talked to a person at church that worked at Coca-Cola, and he said he'd see what he could do to get me a job. And of course, this is the job that God had in mind for me. I ended up getting the job, and I didn't have any experience in the soda industry and no experience driving a semi. I didn't have a CDL, never drove a semi before, and it's quite a different thing if you've never, driven a semi. And so I started off in training, and they called me a max train, which is I didn't know anything about anything, and you got to learn not only how to, you learn all the products, all the different types of Coca-Cola products, which there's a lot. And you also have to learn a handheld computer, which you have to run all day long, every day. You have to learn how to drive the semi properly, safely, and you also have to there's so much to learn that when I got the job, it was so overwhelming that right there I had to lean on God, because it's like every day I'd be like, excuse me, pardon. Every day I would have to ask God to help me with this job, because I wanted to do it, but I didn't think I'd be able to, especially after just several days. I just thought, there's no way, there's too much, But, he gave me courage, he spoke to me about courage. He actually told me I have a son who's in heaven, and he told me that Micah was cheering for me and giving me courage, and so that really helped. That was within the first 2 weeks of getting this job, and so that just really gave me confidence and courage. So that helped. I know I said that already, but so as I'm going through this job, they usually train for at least 2 to 2.5 months, but as I was there for about a month, another person quit, got another job. So we were down actually 3 people, and I didn't know much about this at the time, but we were down 3 drivers. And so it was imperative that they get somebody, they wanted me to get on my own, and they did it prematurely. They set up a driving time to take my test, and I didn't feel like I was ready, but I just said, well, I had no choice. So it came down, it was a week from the time they told me, and I was very nervous, but I just said, God, help, if you help me out, then, and obviously if God is helping you, you can do anything, And so it came to that day, and my supervisor drove me over there, and as we were driving over there, he said, I've taken it here before. He said, so if they take you across this certain bridge, he said, they'll ask you what the weight limit is on the bridge, but you'll be already halfway through the bridge and they'll ask you. And he said that there's no weight limit on the bridge, it's not posted. And so I went in and I took my test, and I learned that it was a guy who never passes people on the first time. And I had to pass this, otherwise they would have probably got rid of me and got somebody with experience in the job. And so I was very nervous, but I went and just, I did it. If God wants you to do something, you just do it, so I did it. And it came down to, we were going across this particular bridge, and I was halfway across, and the guy asked me, he said, what's the weight limit on this bridge? And I said, well, I didn't see a posted sign, so to me, there's no limit, and I remember, my supervisor telling me this. We got back, and he was going through everything, and he told me how many points I had off. Well, you can only miss 25 points, and that's exactly the amount of points that I missed. And if my supervisor hadn't told me about that particular thing, I would have got 26 wrong, and I would not have passed my test, and then I would have got fired from my job. And so, as these things, by the way, happen, I learned to just rely more and more on God and lean on Him as my refuge. I mean, you can just do that, And these are just, what I'm telling you now is just, it's a drop in the bucket of the experiences I have with God being my refuge, I couldn't rely on my own abilities to make a way, and then I found a refuge.